And then over here, so if x is -5, so this would be -5 squared plus y squared equals 25, which gives us 25 plus y squared equals 25. So y squared equals 0, so y equals 0. So this one has a bit more work to go with it. I'm going to give you guys, I don't know, maybe about 3 or 4 minutes to see what you can fill in on this table. I'll do 1 or 2 more of these ones over here actually. So let's do, I'll just skip down to -2. So -2 squared plus y squared is 25. So -2 squared is 4 plus y squared is 25. That tells us y squared is equal to 21. Remember here, you're asking yourself what number or numbers, when I square it, give me 21. So when you take the square root, y here is plus or minus the square root of 21. Should have left a little more space. So plus or minus the square root of 21. So take a couple of minutes, see. This table you should be able to fill in somewhat quickly. See if you can fill this table in. It does require a little bit more work to go along with it. And if you have questions, either say them out loud or type them in the chat. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes. No, I'll set a timer for 3 minutes to kind of fill in these tables. Okay. So hopefully you were able to get some of those done. I kind of set up the graphs here. You'll notice on x equals y squared that I set it up very skewed. I don't have negative y values. Y can't be negative. I'm sorry. X can't be negative. I don't have negative x values because if I square something, I'm going to get a positive number. So when you fill this in, this should have been 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9. So I already plotted the point 9, -3, 4, -2, 1, -1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, and 3, 9. So for this graph, this is what we call a sleeping parabola. And then I'm kind of going to go over the questions for this one before we go to this one. So the domain here, again, domain is x. We see x can't be any negatives, so x is greater than or equal to 0. And our range is going to be all real numbers. And then we can see that here's the vertex, which happens to also be the x and y intercepts. Okay, so the other graph, the x squared plus y squared equals 25. So I plotted this point -5, 0. If I plug in -4 and I square it, I get 16. If I subtract that, I get 9. This becomes plus or minus 3. So at -4, I could be up here at +3 or down here at -3. Let me try to, there you go. At -3, you should have plus or minus 4. And if you forgot the negative, that's okay. Just remind yourself, if y squared equals 16, then y could be positive or -4. At -2, we said plus or minus the square root of 21, which is about 4.58 was what I calculated it. So it's not as nice of a number in there. Just gonna make a small dot. At -1, we're gonna have plus or minus the square root of 24. And at 0, we're gonna have plus or minus 5. And if you filled in this table, you should see it repeats itself again. Plus or minus the square root of 24, plus or minus the square root of 21, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 3, and plus or minus 0. Not plus or minus, sorry. I can't have a plus or minus, I was just going too quickly. So at 3, it's at plus or minus 4, and at 4, it's at plus or minus 3. And this may look a little bit familiar, hopefully, from math 2, kind of at the end. And you should end up with a circle there. So here, we can see we have a circle, and then our domain goes from -5 to +5, including the endpoint. So -5 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 5, and then our range is the same thing but with y, because that's our lowest point. So it's important to point out that these are both not functions. So remember, the definition of a function is every input, every x value has one y value, every input has a unique output, and that's not the case here. So both of these are non-functions. Okay. So for problem 2-90, what I want you to do is you're going to get onto Desmos, and you're going to investigate x equals y squared, and you're going to try to move it up and down, left and right, and then kind of try to compress it and stretch it, and see if it's the same a, h, and k that we normally do. So go to Desmos right now. Let me type that in the chat for you. So go to desmos.com, start graphing, try to move x equals y squared, left, right, up, down, stretch and compress. Okay, so I graphed x equals y squared. Does anyone want to tell us how to move this left or right? You can either type it in the chat or say it out loud. Or if you figured out up and down, you can type that or say that instead. but we will wait until somebody decides they want to share. I don't really want to call on people, though I can. I think you guys are old enough and mature enough for someone to share the answer with us. Maybe. So again, it's not a function. Y equals a times y minus k squared plus h. The h and k are switched. K is still up and down. H is still left and right. Our vertex is hk. There are no asymptotes. For this parabola, sleeping parabola, y doesn't exist as we go left, and as we go right, y goes both up and down. So our equation, oops, that shouldn't be y equals, it should be x equals. We're going to graph x equals -2 parentheses y minus 4 squared plus 3. So this equation here still has a is -2, k is 4, and h is 3. So it still has that same point, 3, 4. Because a is 2, it makes it skinnier. And then the negative makes it open to the left. And then I forgot the domain and range. So of our original, the domain, we already put this on the other page, but here it's x is greater than or equal to h. This is if a is positive. If a is negative, it's less than h, as we can see from this other example. And then our range is all real numbers for both of these. All right. If you have questions on that one, let me know. And then for problem 2-91 and 92, we're going to kind of do it as notes a little bit. So graphing form of a circle. So again, this should be review from Math 2. Graphing form of a circle. So we just saw a circle on the last on problem 89, x squared plus y squared equals 25. But that was centered at the origin 0, 0. So graphing form of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. where HK is the center and R is the radius. So on our circle problem that we just did, it was x squared plus y squared equals 25. This is one we did on 89. So this has the center at 0, 0, and the radius is 5 because the square root of 25 is 5. So an example, this comes from 91, is what is the equation of a circle with a radius of 10 and centered at 5, negative 7. So centered at 5, negative 7, h is 5, k is negative 7, and then the radius is 10. So h is 5, so we have x minus 5 squared plus y, and then because k is negative 7, remember it's always minus, so this becomes a plus 7 squared equals, you can either write this as 10 squared or it'll often be written as 100. Either way, we know that these are the same thing. You should be able to recognize it either way though. And then one more example, this is from 92 part B. If x minus 3 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 169, what is the center? What is the radius? So same idea here, we identify h and k, x minus h. So here, the center is at 3, negative 7. And then the radius is going to be 13. And where 13 comes from, it was the square root of 169. Because remember, this is equal to r squared. So you take the square root to get the 13. Okay, so that's it on our notes and classwork. Again, this is problem 291 and 292 kind of put together. Hopefully it was a review. Your homework tonight, I believe, is 95 to 101. Remember, you have a test on Friday. You'll get more directions for that later in the week, but make sure you are available Friday. I think the cutoff time, I don't even want to, I think it's going to be 2 o'clock from some kind of window in between there, but it'll also be during our class time, so you could just use that time. Your homework was due today at 10. Hopefully you fixed anything that you had to fix last week. Remember, it should all be one file with all of your pictures large enough to read, rotated, etc. If you have questions or think you did it wrong and need to go back and fix it, go back and fix it now, please, rather than me needing to email you. If you're not sure, you can just leave it and maybe write a note. But I'll get those graded maybe today, but probably tomorrow. If you have any other questions about anything this week or last week, please let me know. But that's all I have for you guys. So you are free to go unless you have questions or need me to go over something with you.
Bye.
Bye.